Before we begin, I have some disclaimers. I think it's okay if you like the Nintendo Switch Direct that happened today. I think Tomodachi Life and Rhythm Heaven were definitely overdue for more games. I think the Metroid Prime 4 stuff was pretty good. Memes aside, of course, about adding magic to your sci-fi franchise. And the virtual card stuff is interesting. It's definitely interesting. People often use the word mid as a substitute for bad. I don't think the Direct was bad. I don't think it was good. I don't even think I think it was okay. I think it's somewhere between okay and bad. Some people might say that's mid, but I don't know. I just don't know about that. I don't know how I feel about that one. And there's some reasons why. After the Direct, I took a bit of a shower and I was like, okay, trying to diagnose why I feel this way about this Direct. Because I think I wanted to like it, but I just don't think I did. And there's a few reasons why. And I think some of it is, it's definitely subjective. It's absolutely subjective. I think it's perfectly reasonable to look at that Direct and be like, that was a good Direct. It depends on what you like. Personally, I think Directs are either rated as good or bad due to several bits of criteria. I think that Directs that have a lot of surprises and Directs that kind of have a wider variety of games tend to be just more favored by people. I also think that, and this is kind of a hot take, Directs that focus on first-party games versus third-party games are just also typically better regarded as well. Now, this late into the Switch's life cycle, this is probably the last Direct we're ever going to have for just the Switch 1. It would be very silly to expect a bunch of first-party stuff. That all is probably going to be moved to the Switch 2. Now, that being said, I do feel like, while it's silly to think that it was going to be a bunch of first-party stuff, I think that, as I said at the start of the React video, I expected nothing. I expected absolutely nothing out of that Direct. And for the most part, I was disappointed. I expected nothing, and I was disappointed. And I think the reason why I was disappointed, and why a lot of other people are disappointed, is because the Direct was very niche focused. It targeted very specific fans, very specific series, and it kind of just kept targeting them over and over again. And I don't think there's anything wrong with liking all those games. I just feel like it was definitely geared towards some people, and I was not one of those people. Generally speaking, I've had to say the same phrase over and over again. I can appreciate a Direct even when the Direct is not geared towards me. And sometimes, I would say even most of the time for the Switch's lifetime, there were a lot of Directs that were not geared towards me. With this Direct, I find it a little more difficult to say that. And I think it's because there was just so much not for me. And what was for me, it was hard for me to get super excited about, and that's Metroid Prime 4. And the reason I can't really feel that excited about Metroid Prime 4 is because I've only ever played Metroid Prime 1 Remastered. They have not remastered 2 or 3. While I do have access maybe to 2, I think I maybe have access to 2, I'm not sure. It's still not accessible. It's hard for me to be excited about 4 when I don't know what happens in 2 or 3. You know? Yeah, it was just kind of like, okay, this is stuff. Now there's also Legends, let me make sure I say this right. ZA. I still think Legends ZA is better, and I still hear people say Legends ZA. I just want you guys to know that. I still think Legends ZA might be a good game. I'm cautiously optimistic, and that is something a little geared towards me, but it was also nothing new. So it was like already a known quantity, and that makes it a little less exciting, right? So those were the two things that were really Amalia coded, I guess you could say. And neither of them were new, which is fine, but at least Legend ZA, like we didn't get that much that was new. It was just stuff about the day-night cycle, which is like, it's fine, but it wasn't anything super exciting. And then Metroid Prime 4, like I said already, it's hard to get excited about that game when I haven't been able to play over half the series already, you know? At least over half the series that's already been released. The psychic stuff looked good though. The point though that I want to make is that I feel like this direct was geared towards very specific people, and I'm not one of those people. I'm just not. I don't do rhythm games, so there are a lot of rhythm games this time, and if you like rhythm games, more power to you. I know Tomodachi Life and Rhythm Heaven, again, people have been waiting for like a decade for those. I'm very happy for you guys. I just feel like this direct's variety was just not stellar. It just wasn't, you know? One thing I want to add is that I guess I'm disappointed that this is the final direct for the Switch, allegedly. I mean, there could be another. I understand the impact of some of those games coming to Switch, but I can't help but feel like it fell flat. Like this direct fell flat. It doesn't feel like the best send-off for the Nintendo Switch. It feels like there should be, I don't know, a little bit more fanfare. I don't know. Maybe not even a game announcement, but just something. Just something that feels a little bit better as closure for the Switch. Again, I feel like it was very silly for anybody to go in thinking it's going to be a bunch of first-party stuff that's like new and shiny. That's what next week is for. Like, let's be real. That's what next week is for. And yet, I feel still disappointed by this. It's not stuff I'm really into. I know this is really rambly. I'm kind of doing this without a script, and I'm on like 5 hours of sleep. I keep saying that this direct targeted people that were not me and really like gave them the things they wanted. And I still think that's great. Don't get me wrong. But I also feel like the general sentiment of that direct is kind of the same thing. It's kind of like, it's not a positive reaction, at least from what I'm seeing kind of on the internet as I'm looking around. It's a lot of like, okay, like, you know, the people that are excited for Tomodachi Life are really excited, of course, and Rhythm Heaven, but everyone else is kind of like, all right, that was great, I think, maybe, or all right, that was a direct of all time. And I think that says a lot. I feel like there's, right now, from what I'm seeing, there's like 20% excited. The rest of the like, everybody else, the 80%, we're all like, you know? I don't think there's a right or wrong side to be on. But I think that it's definitely a direct that is very niche. If you're in that niche, you're eating good. If you're not, you're kind of like, okay, I'll just come back next week for that direct, you know, see what that direct has to offer. I do want to talk about the virtual cards. I am gonna rewatch it to make sure that I am saying this right and that I understand this right. Okay. So I'm not really too sure if I understand this right, even after rewatching it, but I think I do. The virtual card thing is a pretty good idea. It's a pretty good idea. However, at first I was worried that the 14-day limit also applied if you're, say, moving your digital copy from your Switch 1 to your Switch 2. It doesn't really say either way. Watching it the first time, I was very on board with the virtual card stuff until that point, and then I was like, whoa. Why do we have a time limit? That's so silly. Like, lending one game out at a time, like, that makes sense, right? That's whatever. I can get behind that. I'd prefer it if it was like 3 or 5, but you know, 1 I can get behind. But the 14-day time limit, kind of something I really don't like about this. I just feel like it's silly. It's just like, why? You know? Why? And it's most assuredly better than some systems that exist. It's not as good as like Steam Share or whatever, but it's better than some systems that have existed in the past. I am worried that the 14-day time limit also applies if you are, say, moving a game from Switch 1 to Switch 2. I think that would be horrendously annoying to deal with. That would be very, very, very obnoxious. I don't want to have to deal with that. And one of my most played games on my Switch 1 is a digital game. It's Splatoon 3. I don't want to have to constantly move Splatoon 3 from my Switch 1 to my Switch 2. Going back and rewatching this, it seems like it's only like whenever you're lending something from your account to someone else's account. I could be wrong on that. I would like maybe a little bit more clarification, because the concept of me having to move Splat 3 from one Switch to the other makes me kind of want to scream and pull out my horns. Other than that, I think the idea of the virtual cards is really good. Really good. I don't like the time limit thing. Like, you know, like that's just kind of the big holdup for me right now. But I think otherwise, having a way to share your digital games with another Switch, another user, is really nice. I like that. I'm glad that they have added that. That is a good step in the right direction. I do live with someone who also has a Nintendo Switch, and because we tend to share games, I've started just buying only physical copies. It's gonna be nice being able to share digital stuff as well, especially if the game doesn't have a physical copy, which is something that can happen. You know, there's sometimes there are games that are, you know, eShop only. It's gonna be nice to be able to do that should the need for that arise in my household. Other than that, it's gonna kind of sound crazy, but I don't have much to say about this Direct. Again, this Direct was, I've said this so many times, you're probably so sick of it. This Direct was not geared towards me. I still think it's fine if you liked it. If you liked it, if you thought this Direct was the best thing ever, I'm happy for you. I do apologize for a lack of a more polished discussion video. If you didn't know, I'm still subathoning 10 hours a day, every day but Fridays, and I am so tired. I'm so tired. I'm like, okay, we're not even gonna write a script at this point. we're just gonna hit the record button, and whatever spaghetti comes out, that's what comes out. I will be for sure covering the April 2nd Direct as well. I think that one is going to be definitely more for me, and it's going to be exciting. I think if you are kind of bummed right now and you're like, oh, that Direct wasn't really great, you know, I'm in that same boat too, but I think next week is going to be our week. I think that's going to be our week. Happy for the people that are excited today. Happy for y'all. But until then, actually, there will be a different video that comes out before then. But until that video comes out, which I just remembered what video that is. Oh, that's gonna be a fun one. Until then, I will see you later. I am gonna go take a nap. Just kidding, I'm gonna go edit this video and then not take a nap and then get yelled at by my mods for not taking a nap. All right, bye everybody.